Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I will analyze the case of Tashia Stuart. First I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Tashia Stuart was born in 1973 and eventually lived in the state of Washington. When she was 6 months old, she went to live with her aunt, Judy Hebert. Her mother and Judy were twin sisters. Judy and her husband, Rolf, raised Tashia and adopted her when she was 5 years old. The family moved around quite a bit, living in California and Idaho. Tashia was described as rebellious and very difficult to control. As an adult, she worked as a certified nursing assistant. In 2004, Tashia became romantically involved with a man named Charles, and they had a daughter together. When the relationship failed, she found another lover named Todd Stewart, and the couple married. As one marriage started, another one ended. Tashia's mother, Judy, was surprised and devastated when Rolf told her he was leaving. Judy had no idea what to do. She was left disoriented. In March 2007, she moved to Pasco, Washington, in order to get a fresh start. Pasco is 135 miles southwest of Spokane. Judy purchased a 3-bedroom, 1,500-square-foot single-story house on Salmon Drive for $157,000. In January 2011, Tashia, her husband Todd, and her 7-year-old daughter moved into Judy's house in Pasco. Tashia and Todd were not employed, yet they planned to live there temporarily to save money to get their own house. It's not clear where this magic money was supposed to come from, but the couple had big plans. Before moving to the timeline of the crime, let's hear a word from today's sponsor, Boot.dev. In 2023, in the U.S., back-end web developers had a median salary of over $100,000. It is a career with amazing earning potential. Furthermore, programmers often have the option to work remotely. With Boot.dev, you can learn back-end development from start to finish in the Python and Go programming languages. There is really no way to learn code without actually writing a lot of code and building real projects, which is what Boot.dev allows you to do. Another key to success with learning how to code is making sure you are never bored. This won't happen with Boot.dev because their interface contains all types of exciting elements like AI assistance, levels, achievements, quests, hands-on coding, progress tracking, game elements, and community rallies. Learning to code is not a get-rich-quick scheme. The curriculum at Boot.dev takes some time and goes properly in-depth on both theory and practice. Boot.dev never wants a student to feel like they are not getting their money's worth. They offer a 30-day, no-questions-asked refund policy and a free demo on every course. Go to Boot.dev and use my code, Dr. Grande, to get 25% off your entire first year if you choose the annual plan. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. According to what Judy told people, on February 20, 2011, Todd Stewart asked her to help him measure the floor of her garage. Again, Todd is Tashia's husband. Per his direction, Judy backed up with a tape measure until he told her to stop. At this point, an 18-gallon plastic bin filled with books fell from the rafters and struck her on the head. The bin weighed 32 pounds. Judy was knocked to the ground. Tashia called her father, Rolf, and said there had been an accident. Judy was hurt. Tashia needed Judy's safe combination to retrieve her will and do not resuscitate order. Her father told her that she did not need those things. Rather, she needed to call 911. Rolf spoke to Judy, who explained that she felt beat up but did not need medical attention. Even though the matter appeared to be resolved, Tashia called Rolf 2 more times that same day, asking for the combination to Judy's safe. He refused to provide it to Tashia. Over a week after the garage incident, on March 1, 2011, Tashia's husband Todd left her and moved to California. It's not exactly clear what happened, but their romantic relationship was over. This meant that Judy's house was now occupied by 3 people, Judy, Tashia, and Tashia's daughter. 2 days later, on March 3, 2011, at 2:25 p.m., a 911 call was placed from Judy's house. At the beginning of the call, there was a noise that sounded like a gunshot. It was followed by a woman saying something like, "Get it off, help." At this point, the call disconnected. When the dispatcher called back, a woman answered and said that a fire alarm had activated in the house, when she was changing the battery. There was no problem. Despite this report, procedure mandated the police investigate, and an officer was dispatched. As this was happening, a neighbor named Ryan heard gunshots coming from Judy's house. Ryan called Judy, and Tashia answered. She told him that something exploded on the stove. Everything was all right. An officer arrived at Judy's house at 2:35 p.m. Tashia told him that there was a domestic dispute over something that had burned on the stove. Everybody was upset in the house. The officer said he needed to talk to her more. Tashia told him that she needed to put her dogs away first. She shut the door, presumably with the intent of opening it not long after. As the officer was waiting, the neighbor Ryan approached him and told him the story about the gunshots. The officer called for backup. At this point, Tashia quickly opened the front door and said, quote, "She came at me with an axe," unquote. Backup arrived at the scene. The police entered Judy's house and found her body inside her bedroom doorway. 58-year-old Judy Hebert had been fatally shot one time. The bullet passed through her hand and entered her chest. There was a utility hatchet on the floor next to her body. Tashia was transported to the police station where she spoke to investigators. Here is the story that she supplied. On the morning of the shooting, Tashia was awakened by her mother screaming about unauthorized withdrawals from her bank account. Tashia tried to explain to her mother that she wasn't stealing. Her mother had actually given her permission to take the money, but Judy was not buying it. As Tashia tried to calm Judy down, she asked her to retrieve her birth certificate from her safe. Tashia was worried that Todd may have taken it when he moved out 2 days earlier. As Tashia stood nearby, Judy went to the safe, which was in a closet. Suddenly, Judy produced a black thing and attacked Tashia. Tashia was referring to the utility hatchet. At the scene, she called it an axe, but at the police station, she referred to it as a black thing. In response to this attack, Tashia ran into the closet and retrieved her mother's .357 Magnum revolver from the safe. She opened the closet door, pointed the revolver at Judy, and fired 3 times. Judy was struck 1 time. Tashia was charged with first-degree murder. Later, for the incident involving the bin of books, she was additionally charged with first-degree attempted murder. On January 17, 2012, Todd Stewart was arrested in California and charged with first-degree attempted murder and first-degree conspiracy to commit murder. In September 2012, Todd was acquitted on both charges. The jury believed there was a lack of evidence against him. As Tashia was waiting for trial, she argued that her treatment in jail was horrible. There was no way she could assist in her own defense. The basis for her complaint was a failure to receive a vegetarian diet. Despite the assertion that Meatloaf Wednesdays represented cruel and unusual punishment, the proceedings pushed forward. Tashia's trial started on May 28, 2013. 5 weeks later, on July 3, 2013, Tashia was found guilty of first-degree murder and first-degree attempted murder. On September 4, 2013, she was sentenced to 45 years in prison. The earliest she could be released from prison is February 2054, when she will be about 81 years old. Now moving to my analysis. Tashia maintains her innocence, and she has a few supporters. They argued that she acted in self-defense when she shot and killed her mother, Judy. Initially, the jury did not know what to make of the evidence that was presented. This supports the idea that there was some doubt in this case. The state, of course, disagrees. They believe the evidence clearly pointed to Tashia's guilt. This brings me to the question, was Tashia guilty of murder and attempted murder? Let's take a look at the evidence both for and against the idea that she was guilty, starting with the inculpatory factors. Judy told people that she had been struck in the head with a bin full of books while in her garage. This incident occurred 11 days before her death. Judy took photographs showing how the dust on the garage rafters, where the bin had been stored, had been disturbed. She spoke to several people about her suspicions that Tashia and Todd were trying to kill her. For example, Judy asked her neighbor Deborah to check in on her. She said, "If something ever happened to me, they did it." Judy and her neighbor even developed a code word to use if Judy wanted Deborah to call the police, but couldn't say so explicitly. The word was lavender. Judy told her neighbor Ryan that if she wasn't at the house for any period of time, Tasha and Todd probably buried her in the backyard. Judy told a third neighbor named Tanya that Tasha and Todd were messing with her medication. On the day before she died, Judy called her bank and said that her debit card had been used for unauthorized transactions. She also told the banker about the incident where she was struck by the bin of books. During a conversation with her ex-husband, Rolf, Judy said that she thought Tasha and Todd were trying to kill her. Immediately after Judy was injured in the garage incident, Tasha did not call 911. Instead, she called her father looking for the safe combination to get Judy's will and do not resuscitate order. This seems like a strange request. Usually, during an emergency, people say things like, call 911 or apply pressure to the wound, not find the will in the DNR. It's our only hope. Tasha spoke to her former lover, Charles. Again, he was the father of Tasha's daughter. According to Charles, she offered to pay him $1,000 if he would witness a forged will. The will was for her mother, Judy. Tasha's intent was to ensure that her husband, Todd, did not inherit anything. She told Charles that Judy should be dead in a few days because she dropped something on her head. Judy was bleeding from her eyes and nose. Tasha also said, quote, "Take it from me, if you drop something on somebody's head, make sure it's round instead of flat," unquote. Evidently, this was Tasha's attempt at homicidal humor. Charles did not accept Tasha's offer. He did not want to be involved. On the day Judy was killed, Tasha called her father, Rolf, and asked, "If Mom comes at me, what do I do?" Rolf said that Tasha should leave the house if she was having problems with Judy. He also expressed doubts that Judy was in any physical condition to attack someone. Tasha claimed that her mother's .357 Magnum revolver was in the safe when she retrieved it, but Judy kept it in her truck. The day before the shooting, Tasha borrowed that truck. Tasha had a video on her phone which was recorded on February 14, 2011, 6 days before the garage incident. From the video, it appears as though she had placed the phone in the closet with the safe to capture her mother putting in the combination. That same month, Tasha searched the internet for information about safe cracking. When the police found Judy's body, she was holding a cordless phone. This makes it seem like she was the one who called 911. There was also a folder next to her which had a bullet hole in it, as if she had been holding the folder in her hand when she was shot by Tasha. The folder contained bank documentation supporting the idea that Tasha had been stealing from her. According to Tasha, her mother attacked her with an axe. How is this possible if Judy was holding the phone and the folder? Either Judy had next-level multitasking skills, or Tasha was lying. Judy had a will which left all her assets to Tasha. However, she changed the will. Now her assets would go to her ex-husband so he could start a trust fund for their granddaughter. In Tasha's bedroom, the police found a copy of the original will. Moving to the exculpatory factors, technically Tasha's self-defense story could be true. Her mother could have attacked her with the utility hatchet. Judy appeared to have a substance use problem. At the time of her death, her blood alcohol level was 0.09%. This is just above the legal limit for driving in the state of Washington. Judy also had cannabis, Valium, pain relievers, and antidepressants in her system. The levels of the medications in her system were higher than expected based on her prescribed doses. That's pretty much it for the exculpatory factors. When considering the evidence in this case, do I believe that Tashia Stuart was guilty? Yes, I believe she was guilty of both murder and attempted murder beyond a reasonable doubt. This case is viewed by some people as sitting right on the line between guilt and innocence, but in my opinion, it is clear-cut. There's hardly any doubt that Tashia was guilty. The jury should not have struggled to make sense of the evidence, even temporarily. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. After her husband Rolf left her, Judy went into a tailspin. Even though the couple remained friendly, Judy could not move past the divorce. She started consuming excessive quantities of substances, including alcohol, cannabis, and Valium. When Tashia asked if her family could move into Judy's house, Judy was all for it because now she had access to her granddaughter. This relationship became the most important one in Judy's life. It gave her a sense of purpose. She did not want to lose it, no matter what. Tashia was self-centered, lazy, impulsive, irresponsible, deceptive, cold, callous, manipulative, and had a sense of entitlement. When she looked at her mother, Judy, Tashia saw a person who was vulnerable, weak, and intoxicated, someone who she could steal from quite easily. Tashia desperately wanted to break into Judy's safe and otherwise take whatever she could from her. Unsatisfied with her progress, homicide was the next option. Tashia set up the garage incident to kill her mother with a bin full of books. It's not clear if Todd was involved in this. Again, a jury wasn't convinced of his guilt. Either way, Tashia was homicidal and very determined to complete the job. Even though Judy suspected that her daughter was trying to kill her, there were two factors which prevented her from kicking Tashia out. One, Judy did not want to lose contact with her granddaughter. And two, Judy was impaired due to substance use and could not fully comprehend how much danger she was in. On the day of the murder, Judy reviewed bank records which she believed supported the theory that Tashia was stealing from her. She confronted Tashia, called 911, and was shot to death. The lesson learned in this case is how dangerous it is to have a homicidal person living in your house, mostly because of the murder part. Judy was fortunate enough to survive the first attempt on her life, but not wise enough to avoid the second. Those are my thoughts on the case of Tashia Stuart. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.